Honourable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. And I first of all like to congratulate the committee for the work that it has done on reviewing the activities that have been undertaken by by the Ministry of Trade in all the kinds of work that it is doing. And in so doing, I'd just like to comment on some of the issues that have been brought up. One of the things that seems to have been discussed from yesterday and from today is the need for economic diversification. And as we all know, the acting Prime Minister has talked about Fiji's history in terms of its economy. We were initially dependent upon sugar. Over time, we've developed tourism. And now we all know that our economy is becoming more of a service-based economy. And you can also see there are a lot more services that are involved. So in fact, there has been that diversification over time. Diversification has been taking place. We've gradually begun to move out of just dealing with private commodities. Now we're doing a bit more of value addition so that we get more out of the commodities that we are able to have in this particular country. And if I look at this particular annual report, you can see there's a strong emphasis now in this ministry on the developing of the micro, the small, and the medium enterprises. Micro, small, and medium enterprises. There's a lot of programs that are there, and there's also the youth entrepreneurship scheme that is getting the youth involved. Not just adults like us being involved in entrepreneurship, but also the youth. I think this is also a great diversification, because that is where the future of the economy will lie. When now micro enterprises become small enterprises, they become medium enterprises, and then they can grow and will be able to add much more value add to our economy as a whole. So something that is I'm being very glad to see that. As part of that, there has also been discussion about mining. I think yesterday and today, the Honourable Ngavoka was also talking about mining of the Singatoka river mouth. Just like to clarify in this House that there is no mining currently being undertaken at Singatoka river mouth. Nor has there been a license given for mining of Singatoka river mouth. The only thing that has been given is the right to explore. Right? The impact on the environment of exploration and mining is very, very different. But at the same time, before anybody gets the right to explore or to mine, they have to meet the stringent requirements of the Ministry of Environment. They have to meet those requirements. Nobody is allowed willy-nilly to come in and do whatever they want to do. And very successfully, if you go now to the mouth of the Mba River, where is this great resource of iron sands. There's a company there called Amex, which has invested more than $140 million into that enterprise. And they are mining the iron sands, and at the same time they're giving employment to people. They still have to recover the amount of money they've invested into that area. But everything that they do has to be done with the approval of the Ministry of Environment. So nothing that is, while we all talk about the importance of mining, it's important also to make sure that when we are talking about diversification and we talk about mining, that we support mining within the parameters of the protections provided by the Ministry of Environment. Sometimes here in this House we see people go anti-mining and then pro-mining, anti-mining, pro-mining. I think for all of us, we're talking about sustainable mining. Mining is very important. Amex has been very successful. And I think it is important for us. This is one particular sector. And when the economy goes down, they keep on going on. They keep on their investment. An example in point is the Tuvatu gold mine. Tuvatu gold mine has not had any productions yet, but they've put a lot of money into that mine. There have been people being employed. Through COVID, people are still employed. It's a very resilient type of sector because a lot of the investment is done upfront, and at the same time, the returns come much later. And I'd like to add here, I think there's just 2 points for mining. One, we need to be able to all in this House to give out the message that we support this as long as it's sustainable within the parameters that have been set by the Ministry of Environment. And the messages that we sometimes get from the other side seem to be mixed. Sometimes you seem to be for it, sometimes you just for your own political mileage or whatever, you're against it. As a country, if you're talking about diversification, we need to support it, and at the same time make sure that we take into account the interests of our landowners and also the interests of the environment. Because the interest of the environment is the interest of the future generations of this particular country, of our country. The other point that I'd like to talk very briefly about is the issue that was raised by the ministry that we have, the Ministry of Infrastructure. At one point in time, this ministry used to build all the government roads. At one time, this ministry used to look after the water supply in all our towns and services. But over time, what government has done, it has taken its direct operational entities and placed them into bodies on their own. That's why we have created the Water Authority of Fiji. That's why we have created the Fiji Roads Authority. And when you do that, government then reserves the role of policy and regulation for itself and setting directions. The direct operations are put into these entities. That's the same sort of thing you have in tourism. At one time, the ministry would do everything. But what the ministry is doing there in tourism, it's keeping a small team. And if you look at this annual report, you see all the different agencies that they have set up to do the actual operational work. This is how smart governments work across the world. So if you're standing and talking about, why is it that you have 20 people in tourism? It's because this is the new approach. This is how we do it. Government, the result is seen in the yield that you see. The result is seen in the yield that you see. You see, post-COVID now, our numbers have gone up. It's important to realize that this is how we do smart government. We don't do all the operations. They require them to achieve the results for the money that is given to them. That is how government is done. No minister here goes and does all the work of the workers in an organization. We don't do that. I don't go and tell the people in FRA, go and fix this particular road. I expect them to have a framework in which they operate that I have agreed to. We don't go and check all the drains and do all that kind of things. No, we set up entities, and through strong governance principles, we make sure that they work, and we hold them accountable. So as you're asking about why is it that tourism is small? The number of people in tourism in that ministry is small. Why is it small? Because we're working smart. Working smart. We're not trying to do everything. You look at the regulation, the governance, and you make sure these entities do what they're supposed to do. Smart government is the way forward. The way in which government used to do everything is the days of the past. Looking forward, government becomes smaller. The operational arms are outsourced, and they do their work under the guidance of the government and also through the monitoring of government. So that's the way forward. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
I thank the Honourable Minister.